Yes, it may seem surprising. I recently published a scientific article on this topic in the Urban and Regional Economic Review with my co-author, Alexandra Vignol. A large part of my research field concerns real estate price movements, but we know that the real estate supply is very inelastic, so that basically real estate price movements vary according to the market demand side. Basically, the housing demand variation depends on residential attractiveness, internal demographic variation being very, very slow. However, since the crisis of the 70s, European cities have been in hard competition to attract residents as well as firms and tourists. To this end, they have developed urban renewal, cultural, and overall marketing policies. These marketing policies attempt to improve their perceived identity, and that for each target of their communication: residents, firms, and tourists. So nowadays it isn't possible to examine real estate price movements without considering images displayed by cities. The urban identity issues is not new in urban economic field of research. The first discussion appeared with Jacobs and Lynch in the 60s. Since the 90s, the marketing literature on city branding has become very large and diversified, as described in recent reviews of Geithner, for instance, in 2011. In this literature, unfortunately, is mainly based on qualitative case of studies with a limited statistical scope. It outlines the existence of two kinds of identity provided by cities. Large cities spotlight an identity of entrepreneurialism, as defined by Hervé, based on competitiveness, dynamism, innovation, and urban regeneration project. In contrast, medium and small cities spotlight an identity of proximity based on the positive values of refuge, friendliness, solidarity, authenticity. Indeed, it is as if cities have selected a kind of turnkey identity, whatever their real attributes. Yet it is obvious that these turnkey identities are probably inefficient in regard to the attractiveness objectives, because they are not believable by external targets and not acceptable by residents. So our research program is twofold. It questions the existence of these turnkey identities, and it attempts to measure the distance from these turnkey identities and the real and perceived attributes of a sample of big European cities. Oh yes, it was not easy. Identity is a reflexive latent concept, so that we only can observe it through their visual and textual communication supports. We have decided in this way, opened by Grodek in 2009, concerning the US cities, to code the presence-absence of visual terms of the photographs used in the home pages of 48 cities' websites in Europe. The premise behind this choice is that marketers paid specific attention to their desired identity on the visual of the website homepage. Unfortunately, textual analysis was not possible because of the diversity of languages in Europe. Two observations have been realized in 2011 and 2013. For each observation period, multiple correspondence analysis allows identifying the types of communication on which each of them will be positioned according to its factor score. The first important result of the study is to fail the assumption of an entrepreneurialism turnkey identity shared by all big cities in Europe. Their identities are indeed plural and variables. Data exists, but we need to be careful about how these data are calculated and where they come from. To measure perceptions of cities by residents, or firms, or tourists, data are drawn from Eurostat Resident Opinion Survey, Cushman and Wakefield's Firm Opinion Survey, and Trivago's Tourist Opinion Survey. To measure real attributes of cities, we mobilize data from classical providers, precisely Eurostat and Mercer. For each type of data, explanatory factor analyses have been run to reduce the number of dimensions. So the information quality about cities' perception and cities' reality appears sufficient. To deal with this issue, we ran a principal component analysis and examined the correlation framework of city scores in identities dimension, perceptions dimensions, and real dimensions in 2011 and 2013. Results are clear. Cities lied. They provide an identity very different from what they really are and how they are perceived by different targets. In this context, the lack of external credibility and internal acceptance limit the urban marketing efficiency. However, in exception appear. From 2011 to 2030, two capital cities of Northern Europe, Stockholm and Copenhagen, have been changing their selected identity, increasing their coherence with perceptions and reality. As they cities are also the most experienced in urban and web marketing practices, we could conclude that this change is a sign of maturity. Oh, it's a very relevant question which opens interesting ways of research. After all, the aim of a selected image may be performative. Precisely, a sustainable gap between selected identity and real or perceived identity may be intended to induce a change in real behaviors in order to lead towards an expected identity. It is also true that politics are probably needed to manage this change.